Mm. It's jammy, it's custardy. I mean, it's still like a soft-ish boiled egg, but man, it's good. Today, we're actually going to be making something called Onsen Tamago in a heavy stock pot, or you can actually just use a really like a decent saucepan. You want to go ahead and put in about just enough water for the eggs that when you put them in, it'll just kind of stop right at the top. You don't want to really submerge them or anything like that, but you also don't want to have them like halfway through. You're going to turn that to a roaring boil. I actually did kind of get the boiling process started, so we're not sitting here watching water boil because you know how long that takes. And when that happens, you're just going to turn the gas off completely. Get a little steamy facial going on. You're going to move, and this is super, super important. You are going to take this off of the cooking apparatus, whether it's your stove or this little kondo like I have here, because you don't want the residual heat from the stove to kind of keep it warm. To this, you're going to add 1 cup of just room temperature water just to bring the temperature down. And this way you don't have to worry about like what degree is my water at or anything like that. You're going to take your eggs, and this can be straight out of the fridge, or you can leave it out on your counter for a couple of hours just to get to room temperature. But you're going to slowly just drop the eggs into the water. You obviously don't want to put it in with your fingers because you'll burn your fingers. You also don't want to drop the eggs in there because they'll be like little tiny hairline cracks, and then you'll have like egg whites floating everywhere, and nobody wants that. Once you have those, I'm only making 3 today, you are going to put a lid on it. And then you're going to leave it alone for 15 minutes. So I've got my trusty timer here, and I'm going to set it for 15 minutes and press start. We're going to take the lid off of this, wake them up, and then you're just going to take these eggs and immediately put them in some ice water, because you don't want them to continue cooking, because if you do, then you don't have onsen tamago anymore. You don't have soft boiled or soft poached eggs anymore. Now these eggs will keep in the fridge for up to 3 days, but I don't know. I tend to kind of like make them as I want them, because I like them kind of on the warm side. I don't, if they're cold, then I have to reheat them. I mean, you don't have to, but I would want to reheat them, and then that changes the consistency of the entire egg. So, yeah, let's not do that. While this is chilling out, we're going to make our sauce for it, which I'm going to be using in this little tiny Japanese teapot, which is perfect for presentation. In this, we already have 1 whole cup of cold water. We're going to get my trusty ponsuyu, which is our mentsuyu base, which is a concentrated soup base, which you can use in different dilutions for things, anything from like soba noodles to tempura dipping sauce, to a variety of a bunch of other dishes that you can use this for. I promise I will do an entire episode dedicated to how to make dashi stock, which is also the base of honsuyu. Honsuyu is usually a dashi stock plus mirin plus a little bit of soy sauce, but it's kind of handy when it comes in like a concentrated base like this. So To an entire cup of cold water, you're going to add a quarter cup of honsu. And a handy little trick to know about Japanese teapots, I don't think this applies to like European or American teapots. And I wouldn't know why it doesn't apply because I think the science is the same. But they do tell you to make sure that the air hole that's in the top of the teapot lid lines up with the spout so that it actually comes out smoother without it kind of doing that weird kind of stop and start thing that happens sometimes. Okay. So now that we have our flavoring sauce, we're going to go ahead and take the eggs, which are, because they weren't boiling, you know, a couple of minutes in an ice bath makes them easy to handle. And a quick trick that I have heard that I tend to do, because it's kind of, I don't, again, a lot of stuff that is cultural, I'm not sure about the science, but I follow the tradition. It could be an old wives' tale, but I follow that tradition anyway, which is shake your egg. And by shaking your egg, it kind of loosens the whites from the inside of the shell, so it just kind of makes it easier to remove. And it becomes this, it's soft, the whites are runny, but the yolk is not. It's so fascinating and so amazing and so good. I'm going to do a second one. And this one I didn't shake, so you can just kind of see the difference. It's a little bit more solid when it comes out. So maybe it is an old wives' tale, but tradition is tradition. To this, you're just going to pour a little bit of the tsuyu sauce on top. And that's your onsen tamago. It's so easy to make, but it is so rewarding because if you like soft-boiled eggs, you have to try this recipe. The whites are almost like, it's not quite as hard as a soft-boiled egg. It's softer than that. And the yolk like stays intact and you can eat it whole like it is, which I tend to do. It's jammy, it's custardy. I mean, it's still like a soft-ish boiled egg, but man, it's good. And like I said, if you go to a hot spring in Japan that has like a high sulfur content or high whatever mineral content that particular hot spring seems to have, they'll use that in their marketing. They'll be like, these eggs are really good for you because it also has the same properties as the hot spring that you're soaking in. Mentsuyu, honsuyu, does have a little bit of sugar, but not a whole lot. That just comes from the mirin. So if you are going for like a full keto, low carb kind of thing, and you want to eliminate sugar altogether, you can just use soy sauce. You know, to be honest, you can use a little bit of soy sauce and then maybe some bonito shavings or maybe a little bit of like chopped green onions on top. But it's still really good by itself with the regular honsu. If sugar is not a concern to you, this would kind of fall under low carb but not keto, if that makes sense. It's so good. It's obviously a little different than what you might be used to when you think of a soft-boiled egg or a poached egg. Some of you might just put salt and pepper on it. But I think that if you want to kind of go along with the Japanese palate, using a honsu base sauce is going to like totally elevate this dish. You can put this over rice if you'd like. If you are not trying to do low carb or keto, and rice is okay with what you're taking in, I'm gonna have that third one and enjoy that. So thank you so much for following me on my test kitchen site and my channel. I will be doing a couple of other egg specific recipes that are specifically made for the Japanese palate. I hope you stick around and follow along with those recipes as well.